The one above all has had enough of the Infernal Hulk and all this time of monsters talk. So he's getting ready to do something about it. Kinda. So if you're enjoying these videos, be sure to drop a like, subscribe if you're new to the channel, and don't forget to hit that bell up top for the possibility of a notification when a video goes up. Alright, so coming back, the first thing we do is head over to Bruce and Betty's situation, which now takes us to a funeral. Because the two of them have been trying to live this normal life, working together at the pharmacy while hiding under the identities of Heather and David. And if you guys remember, one of their co-workers, a woman by the name of Natty, her son had been deployed to go out there and fight against the whole monster uprising. And he would often send his mom Natty videos and messages about what he's doing, so she would show off these pictures and videos at work, because she was so proud of her son being out there doing quote-unquote battle-y things. But as we know, the battle out there hasn't been going too good, because when the Infernal Hulk rose to power, they had absolutely wrecked the army, killing some and converting many others into monsters, which has unfortunately brought us to the funeral of Natty's son, Tommy. And the kind words shared at his funeral goes as follows. Private First Class Tommy Watson was the best of us. A soldier, a student, an athlete, a son, a hero. Most importantly, he was a good boy who never forgot to call his mother. He was what we all should aspire to be in our own lives. If you watch the news, you'll hear that we now live in an age of monsters. I reject this. And even if it were true, Tommy represents that part of us that no monster can violate, that no battle can break. Tommy's life was proof that some things are incorruptible. And at this funeral, we see Bruce listening to all this, and you can tell these words have a lot rushing through his mind. And meanwhile, in Ohio, you got the Avengers trying to deal with the Infernal Hulk. And at this time, Tony Stark has the semblance of a plan, because right now they've got the Infernal Hulk along with a ton of his Hulk soldiers bottlenecked on a bridge. So Tony basically tells the others, the heroes that are here are pretty much all they got. Save as many civilians as you can, try to keep the monsters on the bridge, and focus everything else on Hulk. But in the middle of this, a huge bright light comes crashing down, right on the bridge, right in front of the Infernal Hulk. So Tony tells the others, hold back, don't jump yet, only for this to be followed by the voice of the one above all, saying, I see you, corrupted seed of Venruvial, dressed in new flesh. I called this planet of your progeny once, let it be so again. And now all this talk about the Infernal Hulk being the corrupted seed of Venruvial, this goes back to what we covered when we went through the entirety of the Philip K. Johnson Hulk series, where we talked about the story of Venruvial versus the one above all, where after his servant the Demiurge created a tomb to consume the corrupted gods who were actually corrupted by Venruvial. When this was done, Venruvial still remained, only to grow stronger and more bold, which is what then led to the one above all splitting the earth open to face her himself. And like we talked about before, it was the clash between the two of them, Venruvial and the one above all, that led to the creation of the one below all, when Venruvial corrupted the one above, creating the one below. And I have a link in the description to the full story on how this connects back to Immortal Hulk and how it brought us to the Infernal Hulk, and it's a quick watch, just under 5 hours. But this is what's being referred to as the Infernal Hulk hears the voice of the one above all. And as far as the Avengers, Tony's like, hey, give them space, focus on the others, let's see how this plays out. And now going into this fight, there are a few deceiving elements that we'll be addressing throughout the course of this. But just to be clear, the Infernal Hulk is actually the eldest, the firstborn of Venruvial, who for some time had been trying to bring her mother back, with her mother Venruvial also being known as the Mother of Horrors. And the only way she could do this was by using the Hulk to open the door that had her mother locked away. And she did this, but when she found her mother, she was slumped. So the eldest, who's also the first skinwalker, consumed her mother, and this brought forth the Infernal Hulk, with her mother Venruvial existing within the Hulkscape. And now when this gets started, the eldest, or the Infernal Hulk, says here, you surprise me. How long since your feet touched the dust of a world you'd made? No matter, we watered the earth with your blood before. Time, it was watered again, only for the Infernal Hulk to catch a hit that sends that bottom jaw swinging. And the fight sends the two of them down into the water and below the earth, before the Infernal Hulk swings back, sending the both of them to the moon. And the voice of the one above all continues here saying, I see your mind. The very knowledge of you offends me. Washing away the stain of you will be the labor of 1,000 years. And that's when the Infernal Hulk responds here, by way of using a bit of Venruvial's telepathy, with it saying, I see your mind as well. I see the truth of you. You are not he. And the Infernal Hulk just splits open what appeared to be the actual one above all. But come to find out, this is a vessel of his wrath that he's controlling with his mind. And that's what I meant before when I said there are a few deceiving elements here. Cause on the surface, it almost looks like a rematch between the one above all and VENOM. But truth be told, this is just a fight between both of their creations. And that's not to take anything away from it, cause it's still crazy. Cause the voice of the one above all goes on to say here, loathsome creature, I am he, the vessel of his wrath wielded by his mind, as thy hands and eyes and beating heart are thee. I am no less the one above all. And you know, that's kind of a funny analogy to make given the fact that the eldest, or the Infernal Hulk, who's really the eldest, is actually a skinwalker using both VENOM's body and the Hulk's. So to say you are your hands and eyes and beating heart is kind of like, nope, kind of stole all of that. So that argument doesn't really hold well. Not in the case of the Infernal Hulk. But that's when they go on to say here, you are a slave, the servant he sent to die in his place. And that's where this thing just goes off. Once again, in the voice of the one above all, saying, unclean thing, we are all his servants. And I'm not sure if that's completely valid when it comes to the eldest, because the eldest came from VENOM, and VENOM started as a lone drop of shadow that sprang into being not of the one above all, but of itself. And now long after the eldest and like the first wave of VENOM's children, many of whom were destroyed by the one below all, but long after these children, you then had those who were just corrupted, created by the one above all and just corrupted, who VENOM would still claim as her own, even though some were 100% human. And I say that to point out that it's all of these murky truths that are coming from the wrath of the one above all that seem and sound more valid, but they only go on to make the Infernal Hulk make more sense on their side, because a portion of this is like a conversation between the vessel and the Infernal Hulk, as if neither one is right, but they're instead two sides of the same coin. And now the Infernal Hulk continues here by asking, does he see you now, your pretty slaver, your beloved one above all? And that's what they say here, he sees all. And the Infernal Hulk is just like, good, before it completely destroys what's left of this thing, which you know is not a good look for the one above all, because if you're gonna send the vessel of his wrath wielded by his mind, only to have it end up like this lets anyone know who didn't know already how insanely strong the Infernal Hulk is. And when they're done, they're just like, here's your slave, tyrant, keep your other slaves in the sky, lest the monsters come for them as well. And now Tony, he caught all this in 4K while using no DLSS 5. And when Cap's like, Tony, can you see what happened up there? Tony's just like, yeah, it didn't go our way. But we do have one thing we didn't have before, as they look to the weapon that the one above all's vessel left behind. Then after this, when we go back over to Indiana with Bruce and Betty, with them getting home after the funeral, where Betty's feeling bad about Natty and what happened with her son. She goes on to tell Bruce how Ricky told her, and Ricky's another one of their co-workers, but she lets him know that Ricky told her that Tommy's casket is empty because the Infernal Hulk turned that army base into dust. So all of those soldiers are just gone. And that's where good old Bruce, he always knows what to say in these moments, because he's like, we're okay here, Betty. We're in the middle of nowhere. There's nothing here Hulk wants. We're safe. And that's got to be the most self-centered, inconsiderate thing that anyone could say at a time like this. So she just looks at Bruce for a second before telling him Nettie buried her son today and she's by herself. I'm going over to check on her. Or are we so safe that we don't look after our friends now? And even as they make their way over to see Natty, Bruce tries to go for this apology, if that's what you want to call it. Because he tells Betty that he's sorry about what he said earlier. Then he goes on to say how a normal life has been so unavailable for him for so long. And that's where Betty just tells him it's fine. Let's see if Natty needs something, because it's not all about you, brother. But I'll even say, in Bruce's defense, because he's always had to deal with multiple identity disorder and all the Hulks, I imagine there are some fundamental social skills that he's never developed. So when it comes to being normal, he's like a fish out of water. And now the whole way to Natty's place, it's raining like crazy. So when they get there just to see her front door wide open, this raises some concern. Then when they hear her scream, Betty's like, that was Natty. So Bruce rushes to the door while telling Betty to call 911, only for Bruce to get to the door and find out that Tommy has been converted by the Infernal Hulk, and he's come home to see his mama, just like she wanted. Okay, well, maybe not exactly like she wanted, but he's here. And now when Tommy sees Bruce and Betty, he goes off like, go away, you're scaring mama, just before grabbing Bruce and flinging him across the room. So quickly, Betty goes to grab Natty and just get her out of there. When Tommy sees this, he just goes off again like, don't touch my mama, just before he grabs Betty. And he's saying some crazy things here like mama's mine, her blood and breath are mine, no one else's. Then he extends his mouth like he's about to bite Betty's head off. So Bruce goes to save her by smashing the bottle on his back while trying to tell Tommy that he's dead. And when the broken bottle causes the fire to spread, Tommy smacks Bruce while continuing to say that he's gonna kill him, only for the fire to get out of control and engulf Tommy. And he just starts crying, "Mama, help me, it hurts." Which I imagine just has Natty terrified for both herself and her son. And after that, Tommy just leaps out of there and he takes off. He's gone. And when Natty calls for her son in a state of complete shock and confusion, Betty tells her, "That's not Tommy, sweetie." And she tells her she's gonna be okay. But now that's when Bruce says here, "You were right, Betty, about everything. We can't hide here. There's nowhere to hide. I have to go back." And you guys already know, when that time comes, I got a feeling that it's gonna be something very special. Just going off of Bruce's secret affliction that he hasn't talked about all this time while hiding away with Betty. And I'm telling you, if this comes to the point where Bruce can make Hulks, then it's gonna be a problem. Because it kind of reminds me of how Bruce had that weird thing going on before the Titan Hulk showed up, and how it started with that memory of him staring at a burning building. But we'll have to wait and see how this pans out. Let me know what you guys think. And so now real quick, I want to give a special shout out to all the patrons. Thank you guys for all of your support. And for anyone who's new here who wants more information on how to support the channel, I got a link below where you can go to patreon.com/dopespill. But that'll do it for this one, guys. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, and we'll do it again on the next one. All right, later.